Okay, solving one variable inequalities. I will have to admit that it probably was 1.1D 1 year, but for the purpose of this class right now, it is going to be that 1.1, actually 1.3a. It doesn't matter. But we're going to take and we're going to solve an inequality, and then we're going to graph that inequality, not on graph paper, but basically just on a number line. Okay, so some things that compare and contrast about inequalities versus equalities. Equality is the equation. So if I've got equals here, there's one solution, and that number is 2. So on the number line, it would look like a dot just on the number 2, because that's the only solution to that particular equation. Inequality has this bracket looking thing. It says x is less than, so it's all the numbers that are less than 2. So now on my number line, to pull that off, I've got all the numbers that are less than 2. So 2 is less than, or not 2, 1 is less than 2, 0 is less than 2, and so forth. So I would shade that number line with all those numbers. Now 1.9999, anything close to 2 would also work, but 2 won't work, so I'll just put a circle around that too. Okay. So we have inequalities. If I were reading this from left to right, this would be greater than. Okay. Oops. Next one would be less than. Now, the only difference between the first one and the third one is that they throw a line underneath it. Or I should say the second and the third one. So this one would be less than. I'm going to stress the or part, or equal. And the bottom one would be greater than or equal. Okay, now when I'm filling these in the number line, I go to the actual number. These would be open circles because they're not included. And then on the number line, I'd fill the circle in with a dot because the number is included. Okay. So inequalities, the speed limit is 50 miles per hour. So if you're following the law, it would be that your speed has to be less than or equal to 50. If you want to ride this ride, you got to be taller than that measurement. The measurement looks like 52 inches. So your height would have to be greater than or equal to 52 inches. Okay, we have grades all over the place, or we have, inequalities all over the place, mostly with grades. Solving inequalities. What do they have in common? What do they not have in common? Okay, what they have in common is that we will add, subtract, multiply, and divide to get our answers. We'll add to both sides and solve. We'll subtract to both sides and solve. We'll multiply to both sides and solve. Divide. With equations, we get one solution, or one number, x equals. With inequalities, we will get many solutions. So what's the inverse of addition? On number 1 here, it would be to take away a 4. So now x is smaller than 9. Now my number line, I'm going to start with the number I get. To the left of it, make sure you pick one smaller. To the right of it, you pick one bigger. Since it is not equals to, there's no line under that inequality, I'm going to put an open circle at 9. And I'm going to ask myself, is 8 smaller than 9? Yes. So I'm going to shade towards 8 and 7 and 6 and so forth. If my inequality is minus, okay, inverse operations, I'm going to add 7 to both sides. So x is bigger than or equal to 28. Again, I'll start with 28. To the left of it, one number smaller. To the right of it, one number bigger. This time, my inequality has a line underneath it, so I'm going to shade it in. I'll try 27. Is that bigger than 28? No. So I'll try 29. Is that bigger than 28? Yes. So I'll shade towards 29. I always thought of it as the alligator. The mouth of the alligator, mouth of the dinosaur has to be opening up to the bigger value. Okay, so if I'm going to write my inequality, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start off with the number, or variable x, and the number 5. There's no point that's on it. I'm going with the numbers bigger, so x is bigger than 5. So if I'm sure if this is right, or making sure, is 6 bigger than 5? Yes. Is 7 bigger than 5? Yes. Okay, the other numbers, like 4, is 4 bigger than 5? No. So I don't want that. The shading represents all the answers. Okay, so little exercise on what you can do with inequalities and what's going to happen. If I've got, let's say 2 is less than 4. This is true. I'm going to add 2 to both sides. I got 4 on the left side, and I've got 6 on the right side. Is 4 less than 8? So by sign, I mean, is it, one of these signs? Do they change the directions? Nope. Okay, I'll go back and I'll take away 2 from the very original. So 2 minus 2 is 0. 4 minus 2 is 2. Still, it goes that way. So no, the sign did not change. I'll multiply them by 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. Okay, 8's still bigger than 4, so no, my sign didn't change. I'll multiply by negative 2, so now I get a negative 4 and negative 8. Oh, but negative 4 is bigger than negative 8. So yes, I had to change the direction of my inequality. Okay, I'll take 2 divided by 2, that's 1. 4 divided by 2, which is 2. Okay, still the same inequality as the original one. Take 2 divided by negative 2 and get a negative 1. Take 4 divided by negative 2 and get negative 2. Now it switches around. So, moral of the story is, when does it change directions and when you have to flip that inequality? Whenever you multiply or divide by a negative number. All the other operations and positives and negatives didn't change a thing. So, I'm going to divide both sides by 5 because that's the inverse of multiplication. I get a negative 4 over here, but I divided by a positive number, so I'm not going to change the direction of my inequality. It's still x is bigger than negative 4. Okay. Over here, we're dividing by negative 4, so I'll multiply both sides by negative 4. Okay. I multiply by a negative number, so I'll multiply that out real quick. This has to change to greater than. It's going to change directions because I multiplied by a negative number. Okay, taking away 3. That's not multiplication or division, so I don't even think about switching anything around. Still going to be less than. Divide by a negative 2. Now I need to flip around that inequality, so x is greater than negative 2, or negative 6. So again, I'll go to negative 6. Number smaller, number bigger. Open circle because of the inequality not having a line underneath it, and numbers bigger than negative 5 or negative 6, which would be negative 5, negative 4, and so forth. Okay. Add 7. Okay, multiply by 3. It's a positive 3. The inequality doesn't change. There's 48. So I'm going to go again 48. Go one number to the right of it bigger, one number to the left of it smaller. Okay, again, not having a line or anything, I'm going to put an open circle at 48, and I want the numbers bigger than 48. So 49, 50s, 51, all those numbers are bigger than 49. And that is solving with one-step inequality. If you can do all of it right off the bat, except for maybe forgetting to switch the sign, you are in good shape. Again, this is a lot like solving equations. It's just that your solutions are many instead of one exact answer.